Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going to get started with our next session from EPA. Uh, uh, Jack, are you online? Great. I'll just read a little bit about Jack's bio and then kick it over to Jack. So Jack Groark is a senior policy and management professional with more than a decade of extensive experience in public policy and government decision-making. Currently serving as senior advisor for infrastructure at EPA, Jack focuses on infrastructure law and IRA implementation in the Office of Congressional and Intergovernmental Affairs. Prior to EPA, Jack served as Deputy Chief of Staff and Infrastructure Implementation Coordinator for Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf. As a senior staffer for Governor Wolf and Senator Bob Casey, Jack has been involved with every aspect of state and federal government programs, policies, and budget. And we're excited that he's here today to share more about EPA programs. So Jack, over to you. Thanks so much.
Great. Well, thanks so much for having me. I really appreciate the Senator's office for inviting me here and giving me an opportunity to get the word out about some of the good work that we're doing here at the EPA on the bipartisan infrastructure law and the Inflation Reduction Act. So I'll jump right in and happy to take questions later on. So starting with the bill, the bipartisan infrastructure law provided EPA with $60.8 billion over 5 years for a wide range of environmental programs that will bring much needed funding to America's water infrastructure, environmental cleanups, clean air protection, while also advancing environmental justice and combating climate change. To date, EPA has already deployed over $7 billion in bill funding to implement projects in all 50 states and the District of Columbia, while working with state and local partners to build their capacity to further accelerate the deployment of funding in 2023. The biggest pot of funding we have under the bill is water funding. The bill appropriated more than $50 billion for clean water and drinking water projects. This is the single largest federal investment in clean water ever made. With these funds, EPA can make progress on the president's pledge to replace 6 to 10 million lead service lines still in the ground across the country, adjust the threat of PFAS pollution that's facing many communities, and broaden the effort to protect critical bodies of water that are important to communities and the economy. For our water funding, the vast majority of that goes to state revolving funds and will go to the state water office in your state. The majority of these funding will be distributed to states in the state revolving fund capitalization grants, which is a federal and state partnership that provides communities with low-cost financing for a wide range of water infrastructure projects from sewage systems to drinking water. Nearly half of the funding is intentionally structured through grants and principal forgiveness programs. This is something new at EPA. Traditionally, these funds have been low-interest loans, which we've heard loud and clear that many communities can't access it. Even a loan at a low rate it's hard for them to pay it back. So this is to provide a pathway for underserved communities that might not be able to access the traditional programs. In 2022, we awarded over $4 billion in bill-funded SRF capitalization grants. In this year, we expect construction will begin on many of the projects that have already been awarded, and many projects that were funded included in the state's intended use plans. We also have funding for clean school buses. Bill provides $5 billion over 5 years to replace existing diesel school buses with low and zero emission buses through rebates and competitive grants. These programs are open to school districts and communities, including tribal nations, Alaskan Native villages, and territories. In 2022, EPA awarded about $1 billion to over 400 school districts for the replacement of over 2,500 diesel school buses with low and zero emission alternatives. 95% of the replacement buses will be electric. This year, we'll soon be announcing the competitive grant program, as well as another round of rebate funding, and we plan to award another $1 billion funding in fiscal year 2023. Sorry about that. And then, so those are the big pots for bill. We also have funding for Superfund sites. We have $3.5 billion in Superfund remediation programs to eliminate the backlog of unfunded construction programs and expedite cleanup of ongoing projects. In 2022, we cleared the historic backlog of 49 projects and obligated over $1 billion for construction at 100 sites across the country. We also will announce new Superfund construction projects worth an additional $1 billion earlier this year that will start new cleanup projects and expedite ongoing work. We also have funding for brownfields, recycling, and pollution prevention. We have $1.5 billion for brownfields over 5 years to award grants to communities and nonprofits to assess and clean up brownfield properties, provide technical assistance to restore hubs of economic growth. We will target a portion of these funding to communities, both urban and rural, that have traditionally not participated in these programs. If your community has not been involved in this, but you're interested, happy to follow up after this. And we're going to have a number of webinars on providing guidance for these folks. But it's a very good program that can, has got a great track record, cleaned up a lot of sites, created a lot of jobs, and invested a lot of money in communities. We also have, for recycling, we have $350 million for EPA to implement the solid waste infrastructure for recycling grant program. And we authorize a new recycling education and outreach grant program. This is a substantial investment that will transform recycling and waste management by helping communities modernize local waste management systems and improve education and outreach on how to recycle. In 2023, we expect to make the first awards under this program while announcing the second round of the program for approximately $140 million in available funding. Lastly, we have the pollution prevention.
Hey everyone, seems like we're having some technical difficulties. We will work with Jack to get him back online. Just a moment. Thanks. Hey Jack, how's your audio?
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you.
I don't know what happened there. I apologize. It should be good now. I'm happy to go back in if it's ready.
Yep, you're good. We're live.
Sounds good.
Thanks, Jack.
Well, sorry about that, everybody. I don't know what happened with my audio, but we're just finishing up with Bill, so I'll jump into IRA. So we also received a historic investment in climate action as a result of the IRA. We will play a major role in delivering a lot of the big IRA programs. EPA has received $41.5 billion in funding to support 24 new and existing programs. It's a lot of funding. We're very excited about it. We think that with this funding, we'll be able to reduce U.S. emissions by 40%, and we'll also support disadvantaged communities and expand the clean energy industrial base. The bulk of our IRA funding is divided into 6 programs, and I'll go into those programs now, give a little rundown. So the first is the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund. That's a $27 billion pot of funding. This funding will enable grantees to leverage private capital for clean energy and clean air projects across the country. This program will be divided into 2 grant competitions, a $20 billion general and low income assistance competition, and a $7 billion zero emissions technology competition. This program will be implemented in alignment with the President's Justice 40 initiative and will lower energy costs for Americans, will create good jobs and boost economic prosperity in local communities. We've already announced the initial design of this program, and we expect to formally launch it later this year, likely in the summer. The next round of funding is the Climate Pollution Reduction Grant Program. These are grants to states, territories, and tribes for air pollution agencies and local governments to help develop and implement plans for reducing greenhouse gas emissions and other harmful pollution. Right now, this program is open, and states can opt into this program, and they'll receive $3 million in planning grants, and for MSAs, they will receive $1 million in planning grants. After this initial planning phase, we will launch a separate competitive program, and there'll be $4.6 billion for competitive implementation grants for these communities. We're really excited about that. I believe Oregon has already opted into this program or will be soon, and we think it's a really good opportunity. We also have a number of environmental and climate justice block grants. These programs will provide funding for community-based nonprofits organizations to support a wide range of climate and environmental justice activities. 3 of these competitions are currently open and will likely be opening more this summer. One that I would like to highlight for this audience is we'll be soon opening our environmental justice thriving community action centers. These centers will help folks access federal funding opportunities. They will provide technical assistance for navigating the federal process, signing up to federal grants. We know that's often a barrier for folks and something we've heard in the past, so we're trying to address that feedback and make the system easier to navigate. So be on the lookout for that announcement soon in the coming weeks. We also have a new program to reduce air pollution at ports. It's called the Clean Ports Program. It will offer $3 billion in rebates and grants for the purchase or installations of zero emissions ports equipment, technology, and vehicles, and the development of climate action plans to reduce air pollution. We also have the Clean and Heavy Duty Vehicle Program. This program will provide funding for states, local, and tribal organizations, as well as nonprofit school transportation associations to offset the cost of replacing heavy-duty commercial vehicles with zero-emission vehicles. This program will also provide funding to deploy infrastructure and develop and train the necessary workforce to achieve this. Lastly, we have the Methane Emissions Reduction Program. This is $1.5 billion to fund grants and technical assistance to accelerate emissions reductions from petroleum and natural gas systems. This program will also establish a methane waste emissions charge starting at $900 per ton in 2024, and that will gradually increase over the next few years. I think those are the big buckets for EPA. We're really excited about these opportunities. A lot of funding out there for communities, and happy to answer any questions or take any comments on that. I'll also just want to direct you that on our website, we have a bill landing page and an IRA landing page where you can find out more about any of these programs and sign up for updates if there's particular programs that interest you. We also have a general page there that has all the deadlines for bill and IRA, what's open currently, what's coming in the future. So I encourage you to take a look at that, and happy to answer any questions or take any comments.
Great, thank you so much. So like I've said, our webinar doesn't enable live questions, but if anyone wants to put any in the Q&A box, we definitely welcome that and can use some of Jack's time now. So please go ahead and do that. And if no questions are submitted at this time, definitely happy to work with you on answering remaining questions after the conclusion of the webinar. And then, like Jack mentioned, there's a ton of resources EPA has out. We're working to collect those resources from various federal agencies and post them to Senator Wyden's website after the conclusion of this webinar. So we'll make sure to get the best links and resources from EPA on that front as well. All right, I think at this time, I'm not seeing any questions come in, so we can go ahead and conclude, unless Jack, you'd like to add any final remarks or thoughts?
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. I would say, like, we want to be a resource to the folks that are on this call today. We want this to be the beginning of a dialogue. I think the senator's office is, happy to serve as, get you the answers you need. And, if you guys are having challenges with any of these programs, or it's good for us to know. It's good to let the Wyden office know, and we're happy to work with you on this. Happy to connect anybody on here with our EPA regional office that oversees Oregon. And yes, look forward to seeing some of you guys apply for this funding, and happy to connect again in the future.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jack. I really appreciate it. And once again, we're going to take a break and prepare for our next speaker from Health and Human Services to talk about drug pricing reform that was achieved through Inflation Reduction Act. So please stay tuned for that. We're going to get that set up. And Jack, thanks again for your time, and look forward to working with you on these programs. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a great day.